Hello and good morning. Hope your day's going alright. So, as you've probably heard, Tactics Ogre ended up winning the recent vote for the next community playthrough. And yeah, it looks like we're going to be going through with the One Vision mod here. So, you may be wondering, why One Vision? Why not the original? Why not something else in the series? Well, to answer that shortly, if we're going through the rest of the series, March of the Black Queen might be a little bit too straightforward for some. OB64 is kind of a pain to emulate. It's kind of a crapshoot as far as that goes, not to mention a bit difficult to transfer over save files. The GBA version, again, same thing with save files, plus it's a little bit slow for some. Though I will say, if you've never played Knight of Lotus, go give it a shot, it's fantastic. The original SNES version was a little bit too difficult for some, and as much as it would be awesome to see Chronicle Valeria someday, it's all in Japanese, so that's its own thing. And then in the original version of PPSSPP here, unfortunately, they made the decision to go with a lot of questionable design elements. Still a fantastic game. Bear in mind, this whole mod, all it does is fix. It takes the good parts of the game and turns it into the entire game. That's pretty much what the mod does. So, to kind of go over what's changed, for one thing, all of the stats are normalized. All of your different characters that you're running into have different templates. So, for example, fighters are going to be good at fighting, rogues are going to be good at being archers and general lightweight type units. There's going to be mages that are going to be better than others. You're going to see different equipment actually doing its job. So, for example, armor previously had this weird thing where it's just like a mix of all kinds of different stats. So now, if you look at them, you see like 2 to 3 stats. That's what they do, that's what they're good at, that's what they're there for. If you're ever wondering how the stats go, he added in a nice little, he added a lot of little quality of life changes all over the place. So if you go through here, you can see what each stat does and how much it affects what it does. So 2+ is for very effective, 1+ for just minorly effective. If you're curious what weapon scales with, because that's something that's also in there that the game never quite explained. If you go up here and just mouse over the weapon, it'll tell you what exactly it scales with. So spears, they're a strength thing. You go to some, like, let's say if we go over here and we go over to fists, they're going to be a dex thing. Go to knives, they're going to be a dex thing. For another thing, weapons are effective and essentially remain effective throughout the entire game. Anything past maybe your very first starting crappy weapons are going to be usable pretty much throughout the entire game. As far as I've tested it, I've even been able to use the utter garbage that you start with through to the very end and through to Coda and everything else. So everything's going to remain effective. You don't have to worry about constant upgrades. You don't have to worry about updating a team of 50 units and keeping everybody updated because that mess gets ridiculous. You do have a lot of units that you manage, so you absolutely can get away with neglecting somebody for a little bit and just come back to them later. Skill-wise, you don't have to worry about all of your strengthens and fortifies and all this other crap. You don't have to be worrying about their progress report over how well they did, whether they need a strengthen or a fortify. Instead, it's kind of like FFT. All of your stuff is there as a bonus. It's there as an extra thing for them to have. None of it is fully necessary, but every single thing that's in there is going to be useful for something. Essentially, all skills, all items, all classes, everything got redone. Anyone that played the original might, for example, never want to use a Terranite. They were previously really, really bad. So right now, they're just as good as any other fighter on the front line, plus they've got a few tricks up their sleeves, like, for example, they can still scare things around them, but they also can cause shadow clones, which a few units are able to put down copies of themselves to essentially block off movement. So these guys can come in and say, yeah, no, that thing explodes now. So essentially it'll just blow up right back in their face. So there's all kinds of cool tricks that everybody can do. All abilities were redone in such a way that the class will be able to use them effectively. Just know that, for the most part, unless you're really going for it, there really are not any bad choices. You can make just about any build that you can think of work. So, if you have any questions about specifics, I did make a guide. It's mostly done. Hopefully by the time this is going up, I will have completely finished it. But yeah, it will be covering all the different aspects of what everything does. Just bear in mind for now, just everything that you see in front of you is what you see. Somebody's wearing a vest, they're going to be pretty good at dodging stuff, but they're still going to be somewhat protected. you see somebody in heavy armor, they're going to be protected pretty well against everything. And yeah, I think that about covers what I need to cover. Other than stuff like active skills, that's unique to this game, wherein you can basically you can make your next turn a little bit slower, and you have to spend a few points that you would use for other things, but you can essentially give yourself a buff, or you can potentially attack in some different way, or potentially put up what is, like if we go over here, with Sword Masters, they can put up the same thing as what Himido was in FFT, with Preempt here. So you've got all kinds of different passive stuff you can do like this. So just play around with it to your heart's content. And again, if you have any questions on specifics, consult the guide. I went ahead and took care of modding a version and uploading it for everyone to use the same one. If we all need to update at some point, we can do that, but this version should be fine. As far as little random stuff to be aware of, just know at the very start of the game there is a section where, I think I had him in the party, didn't I? This guy. This guy is supposed to have a different sprite for one section of the game. He shows up as invisible for about 2 seconds. Don't worry, that's normal, it's not broken. It's just a weirdly long process to fix that one tiny problem. Don't worry about it. In other cases, you're going to see some NPCs showing up with some of, where are they? They should be up here with some of these. These are holdovers from old passive stats. They no longer matter, they're no longer relevant, so they are just labeled as nothing. He's still going through all the battles in the game to update that, but it's not a big deal, they don't really affect anything. Aside from that, have fun. If there's any questions, ask me. If I don't know, I'll get Rakes to weigh in, and yeah, let's have fun. This mod is one of the greatest ones I've seen in a really, really long time. So, take care, looking forward to see how everyone does, and have a good day. Bye.